The story of Ezekiel Thorne, a solitary rancher in the desolate Colorado Territory, unfolds like a storm breaking over the prairie, raw, unrelenting, and charged with emotional electricity. Titled, Loner Rancher Finds Baby by the Railroad Tracks. But the child wears his dead wife's necklace, this gripping Western saga, set in the rugged aftermath of the American Civil War, likely the late 1860s or early 1870s, is a masterclass in storytelling that weaves mystery, tragedy, revenge, and redemption into a tapestry of human struggle. From the piercing cry of an abandoned infant to the shattering revelation of a wife's hidden past, the narrative grips the heart with iron claws, refusing to let go until justice is served, and a broken man finds purpose in a world that once seemed empty. This analysis delves into the narrative structure and the profound themes that pulse through the story, each one a thread in the emotional fabric that makes this tale unforgettable. The story begins with a moment that slices through the morning silence like a gunshot, the cry of a baby abandoned on the railroad tracks, piercing the solitude of Ezekiel Thorne's isolated existence. This opening scene is a masterstroke of emotional intensity, instantly hooking the audience with a sense of urgency and mystery. Ezekiel, a man weathered by 3 years of grief since his wife Margaret's death, drops his shovel and runs toward the sound, his heart hammering against his ribs. The discovery of the infant, wrapped in torn fabric and lying vulnerably between the steel rails, is a gut punch, a symbol of innocence in a harsh, unforgiving world. But it's the sight of Margaret's silver locket, a relic buried with her 3 years ago, dangling around the baby's neck that sends Ezekiel's world into a tailspin. This moment is not just a plot device. It's an emotional earthquake, shattering his carefully constructed reality and plunging him into a vortex of doubt, fear, and longing. The locket, engraved with their intertwined initials, is a ghost from his past, warm against the infant's skin as it once was against Margaret's throat. The narrative's opening sets a tone of haunting mystery, pulling the audience into Ezekiel's turmoil with visceral force. The rising action builds like a gathering storm, each revelation tightening the screws of suspense. Ezekiel's trembling hands as he lifts the baby, the locket catching the early sunlight, evoke a raw sense of disbelief and betrayal. How could this sacred object, kissed one last time before Margaret's coffin was sealed, now adorn a stranger's child? The narrative masterfully balances immediate action, Ezekiel's need to care for the crying infant, with spiraling questions about Margaret's death. Was her grave disturbed? Was this a cruel prank? The vast, empty prairie offers no answers, its endless horizon mirroring the void in Ezekiel's heart. The discovery of a note fluttering from the baby's blanket, scrawled with the cryptic words, "She knows the truth," is a dagger to the soul, deepening the mystery and igniting a spark of dread. Who is she? What truth could unravel the life Ezekiel thought he knew? The narrative's pacing is relentless, each detail, such as the baby's storm-cloud gray eyes, eerily familiar to Ezekiel, adding layers of emotional weight and intrigue. The arrival of Ruth Caldwell, Margaret's mother, marks a pivotal shift, transforming the story from a personal mystery into a confrontation with the past. Ruth's entrance, with her severe silver hair and eyes that see straight through his soul, is chilling, her presence radiating both authority and menace. Her claim that the baby and locket belong to her sends Ezekiel reeling, his throat dry with shock. The narrative's strength lies in its ability to layer revelations. Ruth's disclosure that Margaret was her daughter, who fled at 16 to escape a terrible mistake, and that the baby is Margaret's secret child, born before their marriage, is a bombshell that shatters Ezekiel's memories of his wife. The emotional stakes soar as he grapples with the betrayal of Margaret's hidden life, yet his protective instinct toward the baby, her tiny fingers wrapping around his thumb, cracks open his guarded heart. The narrative weaves these moments of tenderness with mounting tension, as Ruth's cryptic knowledge and the looming threat of Silas Creed, the man who murdered Margaret, draw closer. The climax erupts with the arrival of Silas and his hired killers, transforming the ranch house into a battleground. The narrative's intensity peaks as gunfire shatters windows, Fujinde windows and flames lick at the roof, Ezekiel's rage and Ruth's fear converging in a desperate stand to protect the baby. The revelation that Margaret was poisoned, not killed by fever, and that the baby carries evidence of Silas's crime sewn into her blanket, fuels Ezekiel's fury and resolve. The narrative's pacing is breathless, the chaos of the gunfight mirrored by Ezekiel's internal storm of grief and vengeance. The arrival of Sheriff Webb and Marshal Hayes shifts the tide, but it's Ezekiel's confrontation with Silas, fists flying, rage unleashed, that delivers the emotional catharsis. The discovery of Margaret's final message, carved on her knife, "Justice will find you," is a triumph of her enduring spirit, a moment that resonates with righteous defiance. The falling action and resolution bring a bittersweet calm after the storm. Silas is arrested, his dreams of Confederate gold shattered by Margaret's cunning. Ezekiel, holding the baby, now undeniably Margaret's daughter, finds peace in his new role as her father, not by blood, but by love and choice. The narrative closes with a powerful image. Ezekiel smiling for the first time in 3 years, the baby's gray eyes gazing up at him with trust. This resolution is a beacon of hope, a testament to the human capacity to find light in the darkest of nights. The story's structure, with its seamless blend of action, revelation, and emotional depth, creates a roller coaster of feelings that leaves the audience breathless yet fulfilled. The narrative is driven by profound themes that resonate with raw emotional power, each one a pillar supporting the story's towering impact. At its core, the story is a labyrinth of secrets, each one peeling back to reveal a deeper truth that reshapes Ezekiel's world. Margaret's hidden past, her life as a runaway, her secret child, her theft of Silas's incriminating evidence forms the backbone of the narrative, each revelation a blow to Ezekiel's heart. The locket, a symbol of their love, becomes a Pandora's box, unlocking questions about trust and betrayal. The note, "She knows the truth," is a haunting enigma, suggesting a hidden knower of Margaret's secrets, later revealed to be Ruth. This theme evokes a visceral sense of shock and vulnerability, as Ezekiel confronts the reality that the woman he loved lived a life he never knew. For the audience, it's a gut-wrenching reminder of how secrets can linger like ghosts, shaping lives long after they're buried. The pursuit of justice burns like a wildfire through the story, fueled by Ezekiel's rage and Margaret's posthumous defiance. Silas Creed, a villain whose cruelty knows no bounds, poisoned Margaret to silence her knowledge of his crimes, only to be undone by her foresight. The carved message on her knife, "Justice will find you," is a cry from beyond the grave, a testament to her unyielding spirit. Ezekiel's transformation from grieving widower to avenging protector is a cathartic journey, his fists against Silas's jaw a release of 3 years of pent-up agony. The audience feels the weight of his vengeance, the satisfaction of Silas's defeat a shared triumph. This theme speaks to the primal human desire for retribution, making every gunshot and revelation a pulse of righteous fury. Ezekiel's arc is one of redemption, a journey from the ashes of guilt to the dawn of purpose. His loneliness, etched into the lines of his weathered face, is a palpable ache, yet the baby's arrival offers him a chance to heal. The narrative's emotional crescendo comes when Ezekiel chooses to raise Margaret's daughter, not out of obligation but love, fulfilling a promise to a woman whose secrets once broke his heart. The baby, with her storm cloud eyes, is a living bridge to Margaret's memory, a chance for Ezekiel to rebuild what grief tore down. This theme resonates deeply, stirring feelings of hope and renewal, as Ezekiel's smile in the final scene feels like sunlight breaking through a storm. The audience is left with a heart full of warmth, believing in the power of chosen family to mend a broken soul. Margaret's hidden life is a wound that festers in Ezekiel's heart, the locket a symbol of both her love and her deception. The narrative explores the fragility of trust as Ezekiel grapples with the reality that the woman he loved kept monumental secrets: her child, her past, her theft of Silas's gold coordinates. Yet the story also celebrates the resilience of trust as Ezekiel chooses to honor Margaret's memory by protecting her daughter. Ruth's role, initially shrouded in suspicion, evolves into a partnership built on shared love for the child, reinforcing the idea that trust can be rebuilt even after betrayal. This theme evokes a complex mix of pain and hope, inviting the audience to reflect on the delicate balance of human relationships. Margaret's courage, hiding evidence that could destroy a powerful criminal, and Ezekiel's willingness to risk his life for a child not his own, underscore the theme of sacrifice. Margaret's secret pregnancy and escape from a violent man in Kansas City, her careful preservation of evidence in the baby's blanket and knife, are acts of defiant bravery. Ezekiel's stand against Silas's killers, knowing he may not survive, is a heart-stopping act of heroism. The narrative's emotional intensity peaks in these moments of selflessness, stirring awe and admiration in the audience. The baby, innocent yet central to the conflict, embodies the future these characters fight for, making their sacrifices feel monumental and deeply moving. The narrative's emotional power lies in its ability to evoke a spectrum of feelings, each one amplified by the story's vivid imagery and relentless pacing. The opening scene, with the baby's cry cutting like a knife through flesh, is a visceral shock, pulling the audience into Ezekiel's world of solitude and sorrow. The locket's reappearance is a moment of gut-wrenching betrayal, as Ezekiel's memories of Margaret, his kisses on her coffin, his whispered promises are thrown into question. The suspense builds with Ruth's arrival, her cryptic words and knowing eyes stirring unease and curiosity. The revelation of Margaret's murder by poison, not fever, is a devastating blow, igniting fury and grief that burn through the narrative's climax. The confrontation with Silas is a maelstrom of rage and desperation, the gunfire and flames mirroring the chaos in Ezekiel's heart. Yet the story's resolution offers a balm for these wounds. Ezekiel's decision to raise the baby, his smile as he holds her, is a moment of transcendent hope, a promise that love can triumph over loss. Margaret's final message, carved on the knife, is a defiant roar from the grave, ensuring her legacy endures. The audience is carried through a torrent of emotions, shock, fear, anger, and ultimately joy, emerging on the other side with a renewed belief in justice and human resilience. The narrative of Lona Rancher Finds Baby by the Railroad Tracks is a tour de force of Western storytelling, blending mystery, action, and profound emotional depth. Its structure, moving from a haunting discovery to a fiery climax and a redemptive resolution, keeps the audience on the edge of their seats, hearts pounding with every twist. The themes, secrets and truth, justice and revenge, redemption and family, betrayal and trust, courage and sacrifice, resonate with universal human experiences, making the story timeless and deeply affecting. Ezekiel's journey from a broken man to a father, Margaret's posthumous victory, and the baby's innocent trust create an emotional arc that lingers long after the story ends. This is a tale of the Old West that speaks to the heart, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there is light to be found, justice to be won, and love to be reclaimed. The Colorado Territory, in the raw and restless years following the American Civil War, circa late 1860s to early 1870s, is more than a backdrop in Lona Rancher Finds Baby by the Railroad Tracks. But the child wears his dead wife's necklace. It is a living, breathing force that shapes the story's soul, amplifying its themes of isolation, danger, and redemption. The settings, railroad tracks slicing through an endless prairie, a lonely ranch house, a windswept grave on a ridge, and the distant promise of Silverton, carry the weight of Ezekiel Thorne's grief and the escalating peril of his confrontation with Silas Creed. Each location is imbued with emotional resonance, painting a vivid picture of a world where hope battles despair under an unforgiving sky. The story opens on the railroad tracks, a stark steel lifeline cutting through the vast emptiness of the prairie. The tracks are not just a physical setting but a symbol of transience and vulnerability, a place where lives converge and destinies shift. When Ezekiel hears the baby's cry like a knife through flesh, the tracks become a stage for his heart-stopping discovery. The infant, wrapped in torn fabric and lying between the cold rails, is a fragile beacon of life in a landscape that feels abandoned by God. The track's isolation, described as disappearing into the morning haze, mirrors Ezekiel's own solitude, a man who has buried his heart with his wife, Margaret. The locket around the baby's neck, glinting in the early sunlight, transforms this desolate spot into a crucible of mystery and pain as Ezekiel confronts a relic from his past in the most unlikely of places. For the audience, the tracks evoke a visceral sense of shock and curiosity, a place where the ordinary, a morning's work, collides with the extraordinary, setting the stage for a tale of secrets and survival. The emotional weight of the tracks lies in their stark contrast to the life they hold. The baby's cries echo across the prairie, a sound that pierces Ezekiel's guarded heart and pulls the audience into his turmoil. The tracks, stretching endlessly in both directions, symbolize the unknown, Where did this child come from, and who left her here? The absence of any human presence, not even the smoke from a distant campfire, heightens the sense of abandonment, making the baby's survival feel like a miracle, and Ezekiel's discovery a moment of divine intervention or cruel fate. This setting sets the tone for the story's emotional intensity, a place where hope and despair clash under the open sky. Ezekiel's modest ranch house, standing alone against the prairie's expanse, is the heart of the story, a sanctuary that becomes a battleground. Described as modest and isolated, the house reflects Ezekiel's inner world, a man who has walled himself off from life since Margaret's death. The narrative paints it as a place of quiet sorrow, where Ezekiel has lived with his regrets for 3 years, its walls holding memories of a love lost to fever, or so he believed. When he bursts through the door with the crying baby, the house becomes a refuge, a place to shield the child from the approaching storm, both literal and figurative. The act of creating a makeshift crib from an old crate, warming milk by the fireplace, is a tender moment that contrasts with the growing dread of the locket's mystery and the note's ominous words. She knows the truth. As the story progresses, the house transforms into a fortress under siege. The gunfire that shatters its windows and the flames that lick its roof during Silas's attack are visceral assaults on Ezekiel's last bastion of safety. The house's destruction symbolizes the collapse of his old life, the burning away of illusions about Margaret's death and their marriage. Yet, it also marks a rebirth, as Ezekiel fights not just for survival, but for the child who represents a new beginning. For the audience, the house evokes a roller coaster of emotions, comfort in its initial warmth, fear as it becomes a trap, and awe at Ezekiel's determination to defend it. The image of the burning house, with Ezekiel and Ruth guarding the baby, is a heart-wrenching tableau of defiance against overwhelming odds. The prairie, stretching endlessly in all directions, is a character in its own right, its vastness a mirror to Ezekiel's loneliness and the story's stakes. Described as broken only by the ranch house and the gleaming tracks, it is a landscape of exposure, offering no hiding place from Silas's pursuit or Ezekiel's inner demons. The prairie's desolation amplifies the narrative's tension, as Ezekiel scans the horizon for answers that never come, the emptiness echoing his grief. The scent of approaching rain and an unsettling something else in the wind add a layer of foreboding, as if the land itself senses the coming violence. For the audience, the prairie evokes a sense of vulnerability and awe, its beauty both majestic and merciless, a fitting stage for a story of human struggle. The prairie's role peaks during the climax, as Silas and his killers ride across its expanse, their dark shapes like harbingers of death. The open terrain, offering no cover, heightens the desperation of Ezekiel's stand, making his resistance feel both heroic and hopeless. Yet, the prairie also witnesses the arrival of salvation. Sheriff Webb and Marshal Hayes cresting the hill, their badges glinting in the sun. This duality of danger and deliverance imbues the prairie with emotional complexity, a place where despair and hope collide in a single breathless moment. The ridge where Margaret's headstone stands is a poignant setting, a sacred space where Ezekiel has poured out his loneliness and regrets for 3 years. Described as a place he visits to talk to the earth, it is a symbol of his enduring love and guilt, believing he failed to save her from the fever. The locket's reappearance challenges this sacred ground, suggesting her grave holds secrets he never imagined. The ridge evokes a deep sense of melancholy, its windswept solitude a reflection of Ezekiel's heart. For the audience, it is a place of aching tenderness where the past and present collide, stirring questions about Margaret's true story and Ezekiel's ability to move forward. Though never physically visited, the town of Silverton, 2 days north, looms as a symbol of hope and order. Home to Sheriff Webb, an honest man, it represents the possibility of justice in a lawless land. The mention of Silverton during Ezekiel's desperate plan to send Ruth and the baby there is a flicker of light in the darkness, a promise that help exists beyond the prairie's reach. For the audience, it evokes a yearning for resolution, a place where the story's wrongs can be righted, making the arrival of Webb and his men a triumphant fulfillment of that hope. The settings in this story are not mere backdrops, but emotional anchors that amplify its themes and stakes. The railroad tracks spark the mystery with a cry that shatters Ezekiel's world. The ranch house, a fragile haven turned battlefield, mirrors his fight for redemption. The prairie's vastness underscores his isolation and courage. Margaret's grave holds his grief, and Silverton offers hope. Together they create a world where every location pulses with emotional weight, drawing the audience into a tale of heartbreak, heroism, and ultimate triumph. The heart of loner rancher finds baby by the railroad tracks, but the child wears his dead wife's necklace beats through its main characters: Ezekiel Thorne, Ruth Caldwell, Margaret Thorne, and Silas Creed. Each is a complex tapestry of pain, strength, and purpose, driving the narrative with their emotional depth and transformative arcs. Their stories intertwine in a dance of grief, revelation, and redemption, pulling the audience into a whirlwind of empathy, rage, and hope. Ezekiel Thorne, the story's protagonist, is a man carved from solitude and sorrow, his life defined by the loss of his wife Margaret 3 years prior. A loner rancher in the Colorado Territory, his weathered hands and heavy heart paint a picture of a man who has turned inward, haunted by guilt over Margaret's death. The discovery of the baby, adorned with Margaret's locket, is a lightning bolt to his soul, shattering his carefully guarded world. His initial reaction, trembling hands, a racing mind, reveals a man caught between shock and duty, his protective instinct kicking in as he cradles the infant. Ezekiel's arc is one of redemption, from a guilt-ridden widower to a fierce protector and father. His rage against Silas Creed, who poisoned Margaret, fuels a climactic stand that is both heart-stopping and cathartic. The moment he chooses to raise the baby, seeing her gray eyes as Margaret's legacy, is a tear-soaked triumph, his first smile in years a beacon of hope. For the audience, Ezekiel's journey evokes a spectrum of emotions: grief for his loss, awe at his courage, and joy at his newfound purpose. Ruth Caldwell, Margaret's mother, enters the story like a shadow, her severe silver hair and piercing eyes carrying the weight of unspoken truths. Her arrival at Ezekiel's door, claiming the baby and locket, is a jolt of unease, her cryptic knowledge stirring suspicion. Ruth's character is a blend of resilience and vulnerability, her weathered appearance hinting at a life of hardship, yet her fierce love for her granddaughter humanizes her. Her arc transforms her from a mysterious stranger to a vital ally, risking her life to protect the child and reveal Margaret's secrets. The revelation that she was with Margaret in her final moments, receiving a letter of confession, is a heart-wrenching blow, deepening the audience's empathy for her grief. Ruth's fear during the gunfight, clutching the baby as bullets fly, contrasts with her steely resolve, making her a figure of both strength and fragility. Her tears and grim satisfaction as Silas is arrested resonate deeply, evoking admiration and sorrow for a mother who has lost so much yet fights on. Margaret Thorne, though deceased, is a towering presence, her secrets driving the narrative's heart. Once Ezekiel's gentle wife, her posthumous revelations paint her as a woman of extraordinary courage and complexity. Fleeing a violent past at 16, giving birth in a Kansas City brothel, and stealing evidence from a dangerous criminal, Margaret's life was a tapestry of survival and sacrifice. Her locket, knife, and hidden evidence, coordinates to Confederate gold sewn into a baby's blanket, are testaments to her cunning, ensuring her daughter's safety and her killer's downfall. The carved message, "Justice will find you," is a defiant cry from beyond, a moment that sends chills down the spine. Margaret's arc, revealed through Ruth's words and Ezekiel's memories, transforms her from a saintly memory to a flawed, heroic figure. For the audience, she evokes awe for her bravery, pain for her suffering, and triumph for her lasting legacy, her gray-eyed daughter a living echo of her spirit. Silas Creed, the story's antagonist, is a chilling force of cruelty and greed, his pale eyes and confident swagger marking him as a man who thrives on others' fear. As the murderer of Margaret, his pursuit of the baby and the gold coordinates reveals a relentless hunger for power. His taunts, claiming Margaret begged for her life, are designed to wound Ezekiel, showcasing a sadistic pleasure in pain. Silas's arc is one of hubris undone, his carefully planned operation crumbling under Margaret's foresight and Ezekiel's resistance. His final howl of rage, seeing her carved message, is a moment of delicious defeat, his arrest a victory for justice. For the audience, Silas evokes visceral loathing, his every word and action a reminder of the evil that threatens innocence. Yet, His downfall stirs satisfaction, a cathartic release of the anger built throughout the story. Ezekiel, Ruth, Margaret, and Silas are the pillars of this tale, each carrying emotional weight that drives the narrative forward. Ezekiel's redemption, Ruth's resilience, Margaret's courage, and Silas's villainy create a dynamic interplay of love, loss, and justice. Their arcs, woven together, evoke a storm of emotions: grief, anger, awe, and hope, making the story a powerful exploration of the human spirit. While Ezekiel, Ruth, Margaret, and Silas dominate Loner Rancher finds baby by the railroad tracks, but the child wears his dead wife's necklace. The supporting characters, the baby, Sheriff Webb, and Marshall Hayes, the Weatherbees, and Silas's hired guns, play crucial roles in amplifying the story's emotional depth and tension. Though less developed, these figures are vital threads in the narrative, each contributing to the themes of innocence, justice, sacrifice, and threat, stirring a complex mix of empathy, hope, and fear in the audience. The unnamed baby, Margaret's secret daughter, is the story's emotional core, her presence a spark that ignites the narrative's fire. Described with storm cloud gray eyes and an unsettling intelligence, she is a paradox. Fragile yet powerful, her cries piercing the prairie's silence and pulling Ezekiel from his grief. Her role as the catalyst, found abandoned on the railroad tracks with Margaret's locket, evokes a gut-wrenching sense of vulnerability and wonder. How could such a tiny life carry such weighty secrets? Her quiet moments, like when her fingers wrap around Ezekiel's thumb, or she gazes at him with trust, are heart-melting, offering glimmers of hope amid chaos. The revelation that she carries evidence of Silas's crimes, sewn into her blanket, transforms her into a symbol of Margaret's legacy, a living testament to her mother's courage. For the audience, the baby evokes fierce protectiveness, her survival a beacon of light in a dark tale, her gray eyes a mirror of Margaret's enduring spirit. Sheriff Webb and Marshall Hayes arrive like cavalry in the story's climax, their badges glinting in the sun as they crest the hill to confront Silas. Though their roles are brief, their presence is a thunderclap of hope, shifting the narrative from despair to triumph. Webb, described as an honest man from Silverton, and Hayes, a federal marshal, embody the law's authority in a lawless land. Their decisive action, ordering Silas to surrender and engaging his men in a gunfight, is a heart-pounding moment of justice served. For Ezekiel and Ruth, they are saviors, their arrival a lifeline when all seems lost. For the audience, they evoke relief and admiration, their intervention a reminder that even in the wildest frontiers, order can prevail. Their limited development heightens their mythic quality, making them symbols of hope rather than fully fleshed-out characters. The Weatherbees, a missionary couple who raised Margaret's daughter for 3 years, are ghostly figures whose impact lingers despite their absence. Described as kind people who ran a ranch near the tracks, their selfless act of caring for the baby and placing Margaret's locket around her neck before their deaths to cholera is a quiet act of heroism. Their final decision to leave the child where Ezekiel would find her, knowing his grief and honor, is a heart-wrenching sacrifice, ensuring Margaret's daughter reaches safety. Though never seen, their presence evokes deep respect and sorrow, their deaths a tragic reminder of the fragility of life. For the audience, the Weatherbees stir a bittersweet ache, their unseen kindness a foundation for the story's hope. Silas's hired guns, professional killers in dark coats, are faceless threats whose tactical precision heightens the story's danger. Their movements, spreading out to cut off escape routes, wielding torches to burn the house, are chilling, their efficiency amplifying Silas's menace. Though they lack individual depth, their presence evokes fear and urgency, their gunfire a relentless assault on Ezekiel's world. The moment one is struck by Ezekiel's bullet, spinning from his saddle, is a fleeting victory, but their persistence underscores the overwhelming odds. For the audience, they are a stark reminder of the violence lurking in the shadows, making Ezekiel's stand all the more heroic. The supporting characters, though secondary, are vital to the story's emotional landscape. The baby's innocence drives Ezekiel's redemption. Webb and Hayes bring justice. The Weatherbees offer sacrifice, and the hired guns heighten the threat. Together, they evoke a spectrum of emotions: tenderness, relief, sorrow, and fear, enriching the narrative's heart. The emotional power of Loner Rancher finds baby by the railroad tracks. But the child wears his dead wife's necklace is a tidal wave, sweeping the audience through a torrent of grief, shock, fear, rage, and hope. Each narrative beat, from the baby's cry to Silas's defeat, is crafted to resonate deeply, making the story a visceral journey that breaks and mends the heart. The emotional impact is amplified by vivid imagery, relentless pacing, and the raw humanity of its characters, leaving an indelible mark on the audience. The story opens with Ezekiel's grief, a heavy cloak he's worn for 3 years since Margaret's death. The discovery of her locket around the baby's neck is a dagger to his soul, reopening wounds he thought had scarred over. The narrative's description of his trembling hands and racing mind as he recalls kissing the locket in her coffin is gut-wrenching, evoking a shared sense of loss. The revelation that Margaret was poisoned, not taken by fever, transforms his grief into a raw, aching wound, the audience feeling every pang of his shattered trust. This grief is a constant undercurrent, making every moment of hope feel hard-won. The locket's reappearance is a shockwave, its familiarity a betrayal that questions everything Ezekiel knew about Margaret. The note, "She knows the truth," and Ruth's revelations about Margaret's secret child and past in a Kansas City brothel deepen this betrayal, each twist a blow to the heart. For the audience, these moments evoke a dizzying sense of disorientation, mirroring Ezekiel's struggle to reconcile the wife he loved with the stranger she was. The shock is palpable, a reminder of how truths can unravel the fabric of a life. The arrival of Silas and his killers, their dark shapes moving across the prairie, ignites a pulse-pounding fear, the gunfire shattering windows, the flames consuming the ranch house, and Ruth's trembling hands as she clutches the baby create a suffocating sense of danger. The narrative's pacing, with hoofbeats like an approaching storm, keeps the audience on edge, hearts racing as Ezekiel and Ruth face impossible odds. This suspense is visceral, each bullet and shout a reminder of the fragility of their stand. Ezekiel's rage against Silas, fueled by the truth of Margaret's murder, is a wildfire that burns through the climax. Silas's taunts, claiming Margaret begged for her life, are designed to wound, but they ignite Ezekiel's fury, his fists against Silas's jaw a cathartic release. The audience shares this rage, the injustice of Margaret's suffering a call to arms. The carved message, "Justice will find you," is a triumphant roar, amplifying the satisfaction of Silas's defeat and stirring a fierce desire for retribution. The story's resolution, with Ezekiel embracing the baby as his daughter, is a beacon of hope that pierces the darkness. His smile, the first in 3 years, and the baby's trusting gaze are heart-melting, signaling a new beginning. The arrival of Webb and Hayes, the arrest of Silas, and Margaret's final message evoke a profound sense of justice and closure. For the audience, this redemption is a warm embrace, a reminder that love and courage can triumph over loss. The story leaves a lasting glow, its emotional arc a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The emotional impact of this story is a journey through the darkest valleys to the brightest peaks. Grief, shock, fear, rage, and hope intertwine, each emotion amplified by the narrative's intensity and the character's humanity. The audience is left breathless, hearts full of both pain and triumph, as Ezekiel's redemption and Margaret's legacy shine through the ashes of tragedy,